3 days. Hyunwoo had counted them carefully, marking time by when food appeared and when the lights dimmed. 3 days in this cell and Badge had been watching everything. The honey badger was not pacing anymore. He sat very still, his eyes following the Vorlix guards when they passed. Watching the door. Watching the energy barrier. Learning. Hyunwoo knew that look. Badge got it when he was figuring out how to open the treat box at home, or when he wanted to get into the garden shed. It was the look that meant Badge had a plan. The door opened. A different Vorlix came in, smaller than the first one, carrying a device that beeped and flashed. It moved to the control panel beside their cell. "Feeding time," the Vorlix said through its translator. "Stand back from the barrier." Hyunwoo moved to the back of the cell. Badge did not move. He just sat there looking sleepy and harmless. The energy barrier flickered. For just a second it turned from blue to purple, as the Vorlix adjusted the settings to pass food through. That was all Badge needed. The honey badger moved faster than Hyunwoo had ever seen. One moment he was sitting still. The next he was through the barrier, teeth sunk into the Vorlix's lower arm. The alien screamed. It dropped its device and tried to shake Badge off, but honey badgers do not let go. Badge's jaws were designed to crack open beehives and tear through thick skin. The Vorlix's uniform meant nothing. "Badge!" Hyunwoo shouted. The barrier was still flickering. He ran through it before it could stabilize. Badge released the Vorlix and came to Hyunwoo's side immediately. The alien stumbled backward, clutching its bleeding arm. Purple blood dripped on the metal floor. "Alert!" the Vorlix gasped. "The specimens have escaped. The predator is hostile." Alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed along the corridor. Hyunwoo grabbed Badge and ran. He did not know where he was going, just away from the cell, away from capture. The ship was a maze of corridors and locked doors. They passed other cells holding strange creatures Hyunwoo had never seen before. Some looked scared. Some looked angry. One, a creature made of what looked like living crystal, rattled its cage as they passed. Badge stopped at each cell, sniffing. At the third one he started clawing at the control panel. The boy understood. His mother had taught him about prison breaks in history class. If they freed the other creatures, it would create more confusion. "Good thinking," Hyunwoo said. He looked at the panel. It was covered in alien symbols he could not read, but there was a big red button. Those usually meant something important. He pressed it. The cell doors opened, all of them at once. Creatures poured out into the corridor, making sounds of anger and fear and freedom. Some ran toward the back of the ship. Others charged toward the front. A flying thing with too many wings swooped past Hyunwoo's head. The ship descended into chaos. Hyunwoo could hear Vorlix shouting, weapons firing, things crashing. Badge led him through the confusion, somehow knowing which way to go. The honey badger had always been good at finding his way home. Maybe he could find the way out of this ship too. They reached a larger room filled with screens and controls, a command center. 3 Vorlix turned to face them, raising weapons that glowed with dangerous light. Badge did not hesitate. He charged at the nearest one, moving in a zigzag pattern that made him hard to hit. The Vorlix fired, but the energy bolts hit the walls, leaving scorch marks. Badge was too fast, too close to the ground, too determined. Hyunwoo dove behind a console as more shots fired over his head. His heart was pounding so hard it hurt. He peeked around the edge and saw Badge doing what honey badgers did best, being absolutely fearless and completely impossible to stop. One Vorlix went down, clutching its leg where Badge had torn through its suit. Another tried to run but slipped on the smooth floor. The third one spoke urgently into a communicator. "The Earth Predator does not respond to stun weapons. It has thick skin and no fear response. Request immediate backup." Hyunwoo looked at the console in front of him. Among all the alien symbols, he saw something he recognized, a communication array. The icon looked just like the one in his school's computer lab. Maybe all technology had some things in common. He pressed buttons randomly, hoping to activate something useful. The screens flickered and changed. One showed a map of the ship. Another showed what looked like a list of captured creatures. A third showed empty space outside the ship. Then he saw it, a flashing icon that looked like it meant emergency. Back home, emergency buttons were always marked clearly. He pressed it hard, again and again. The ship's computer spoke in a flat voice, first in the Vorlix language, then in several others. Finally, it spoke in Korean. Emergency beacon activated. Broadcasting distress signal on all frequencies. Hyunwoo felt hope surge through him. A distress signal. Maybe his mom would hear it. Maybe human ships would come. The Vorliks in the command center heard it too. One of them screamed, "No! The human child has activated the beacon. All nearby vessels will detect us." Badge finished with the Vorliks and ran back to Hyunwoo. The honey badger was breathing hard but did not look tired. He looked ready to keep fighting forever if he had to. More Vorliks poured into the command center. Too many to fight. Hyunwoo grabbed Badge and ran to the only door that was still open. They stumbled into a smaller room filled with supplies and sealed the door behind them. The boy pushed heavy crates against the door, while Badge watched the air vents, making sure nothing could sneak in that way. When the barricade was built, Hyunwoo sat down hard, his legs shaking from fear and exhaustion. Badge climbed into his lap. The honey badger was warm and solid and real. Hyunwoo buried his face in Badge's fur and finally let himself cry. "We did it," he whispered. "We sent the signal. Mom will come. I know she will." Outside the door, the Vorliks were arguing about what to do. One wanted to gas the room. Another said the specimens were too valuable to risk killing. A third voice, the chief collector Vorn, spoke with authority. "Leave them. We jump to FTL and lose any pursuers. Once we are safe, we deal with the human and its creature. Make note in the database. Honey badgers are not suitable for collection. Mark them as extreme hazard." But Vorn did not know that human ships had already detected the beacon. He did not know that 4 warships were already closing in, moving faster than his damaged vessel could escape. And he definitely did not know that Dr. Ji-won Park was aboard the lead ship, and she was done being patient. The Vorlik ship appeared on the view screen of the human frigate Indomitable Spirit. Captain Tae-Yang Lee stood on the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back, watching the alien vessel try to flee. It was damaged, leaking atmosphere, and moving far too slowly. 3 more human ships closing from other vectors, reported the tactical officer. "The Vorliks have nowhere to run, sir." "Good," Lee said quietly. His voice was cold in a way his crew had never heard before. "Open a channel." The view screen split. On one side was the Vorlik ship. On the other, the purple face of Chief Collector Vorn appeared. The alien looked nervous. "Human vessel, this is a misunderstanding," Vorn said quickly. "We did not know the juvenile was from a protected colony. We offer compensation and—" "Shut up," Lee said. The words were simple but carried enough weight that Vorn stopped talking immediately. "You took a human child. You will return him now. We are preparing to do so, but there are complications. The juvenile activated your emergency beacon and released our cargo. The ship is unstable. We need time to—" "You need nothing," Lee interrupted. "You have 5 minutes to open your airlocks and allow boarding. If you do not, we will board you anyway. The difference is how much of your ship survives the process." Behind the captain, Dr. Ji-won Park stood in her environmental suit, ready to board. She had insisted on coming, and Lee had not argued. He understood. If someone took his child, he would move stars to get them back. Beside Dr. Park stood Sergeant Do-Yoon Choi and his Special Forces team. They were also suited up, weapons ready. Do-Yoon had been briefed on the situation. Extract a 9-year-old boy and his honey badger from a hostile alien vessel. Do-Yoon said quietly to Ji-won, "Ma'am, when we get inside, you need to let us secure the area first. We don't know what state your son is in. If the honey badger is protecting him, it might see us as threats." Ji-won nodded. She pulled out a small device from her pocket. "This plays a recording of my voice saying our safe word. Badge knows it. He'll understand we're friends." The Vorlik ship opened its airlocks. Captain Lee gave the order, and the boarding team moved out. The inside of the Vorlik ship was chaos. Escaped creatures ran through the corridors. Purple blood splattered the walls. Several Vorliks lay injured, being treated by their medical staff. They all looked at the humans with a mixture of fear and relief. "The human and the predator are barricaded in storage room 7, Vorn said, meeting them in the main corridor. "We tried to negotiate, but the predator is extremely aggressive. We could not get close." "Show us," Ji-won said. Her voice shook, but her hands were steady. They moved through the ship quickly. Several Vorliks pointed at the damage Badge had caused. Torn panels, blood trails, claw marks deep in the metal. Do-Yoon whistled low. "That is from a honey badger?" he asked. "Enhanced genetics," Ji-won explained. "Longer lifespan, increased intelligence. But we did not change the core traits. Badge is still 100% honey badger where it counts." They reached storage room 7. The door was sealed and heavy crates were pushed against it from the inside. Do-Yoon signaled his team to spread out and cover the approach. Ji-won stepped forward. She activated her recording device and held it near the door. Her own voice played back, speaking Korean in a calm, soothing tone. The recording said, "Hyunwoo, honey, it is Mom. Badge, good boy, it is okay. These are friends. Friends, baby, friends." Silence. Then a small voice from inside. "Mom?" Ji-won's breath caught. "Yes, baby." "It is Mom, I am here." "Badge is a good boy. Such a good boy. Can you open the door?" Sounds of movement inside. Crates being pushed. Then the door opened a crack. Badge's nose appeared first, sniffing. His dark eyes looked out at them, assessing the threat. Ji-won slowly removed her helmet. "Hi, Badge, good boy. It is just me." "Friends," Badge recognized her. The honey badger's aggressive posture relaxed slightly. His tail, which had been stiff, wagged once. The door opened wider. Hyunwoo stood there, dirty and scared and alive. He saw his mother and burst into tears. Ji-won rushed forward and pulled him into her arms, not caring about the weapons or the soldiers or the aliens watching. "Mom," Hyunwoo sobbed. "Badge kept me safe. He was so brave. He saved me," Ji-won said. "I know, baby. I know." She held him tight, one hand reaching down to touch Badge's head. The honey badger pressed against them both, finally allowing himself to relax. Do-yeon looked at his team and made a hand signal. "Stand down." They lowered their weapons. One of the soldiers, a woman named Hai-won, smiled and wiped her eyes. "Let us get them out of here," Do-yeon said quietly. Back on the Indomitable Spirit, the medical team examined Hyunwoo. He was dehydrated and exhausted but otherwise unharmed. Badge was more difficult to examine. He growled at anyone who came near him except Ji-won and Hyunwoo. Finally, the doctor managed to scan him from a distance. Some cuts and bruises. Nothing serious. "This animal is incredibly tough." "Badge is not an animal," Hyunwoo said firmly. "He is my friend." The doctor nodded seriously. "You are right. I apologize. Your friend is incredibly tough." On the bridge, Captain Lee dealt with the Vorliks. Vorn and his crew were detained. Their ship towed to the nearest coalition station. The other captive creatures were being catalogued and prepared for return to their home worlds. An alien ambassador from the coalition appeared on the view screen. Ambassador Kale was a Thalaxian, tall and elegant with blue skin and large eyes. He looked concerned. "Captain Lee, the coalition is pleased the human juvenile was recovered safely. However, we must discuss the level of force you were prepared to use." The Vorliks were frightened. "They claim you threatened to destroy their vessel." Lee's expression did not change. "I did not threaten. I stated fact. They took a human child." The response was measured and appropriate. "The elder races believe this response shows human instability," Kyle said carefully. "Such emotional reactions to—" "Stop," Ji-won said, stepping into view of the screen. "You call protecting our children emotional instability. We call it being civilized. Any species that would not do the same is not one we want to know." Kale was silent for a moment. "Dr. Park, I understand your feelings, but do you have children, Ambassador?" "I have offspring, yes. If someone took them, what would you do?" Kale hesitated. I would do whatever necessary to retrieve them." "Then you understand perfectly," Ji-won said. "Humanity is not unstable. We are protective. And we will always protect our pack." The communication ended. Captain Lee looked at Ji-won with respect. "Well said, Doctor." Ji-won went back to medical where Hyunwoo was falling asleep. Badge curled up on the bed beside him. She sat in a chair and watched them both, her fierce protectiveness slowly giving way to relief. They were safe. Her boy and his loyal friend were safe. That was all that mattered. The twin sons of New Jeju were setting behind the purple mountains when Hyunwoo stepped into the forest. His mother always told him to be home before dark, but the bioluminescent flowers only bloomed at sunset. He wanted to show them to Badge. Badge trotted beside the boy, his thick gray fur catching the fading light. The honey badger was small for his kind, barely reaching Hyunwoo's knee, but the 9-year-old knew better than anyone that size meant nothing when it came to his best friend. Badge had once scared off a full-grown marsh cat just by standing his ground and showing his teeth. The forest smelled like rain and something sweet. Hyunwoo breathed deeply, loving this planet that humanity had made into a home. His mom worked here studying alien plants, and his dad was on Earth visiting family. It was just him, Mom, and Badge for now. That was enough. Badge stopped suddenly. His nose twitched. His small ears turned forward, listening to something Hyunwoo could not hear. The boy had learned to trust these moments. Badge knew things before they happened. "What is it, boy?" Hyunwoo whispered. He crouched down, placing his hand on Badge's back. The fur was bristling. Something was wrong. The sky rippled. Not like water, but like someone had pulled back a curtain that was not supposed to be there. Hyunwoo had never seen anything like it. His heart started beating faster. 3 ships appeared from nothing. They were dark and angular, covered in plates that shifted colors to match the sky. Stealth ships. Hyunwoo knew about those from his school lessons. The bad kind of aliens use them. Badge growled low in his throat. It was not a sound a small animal should make. It was the sound of something that had never learned to fear. Run. Hyunwoo did not know if he was talking to himself or Badge, but his legs were already moving. They ran toward home, toward safety, toward his mother. A blue light washed over them. Hyunwoo felt his body lock up, his muscles refusing to obey him. He fell hard, the soft moss doing little to cushion his landing. Badge yelped once, then went silent. The last thing Hyunwoo saw before his eyes closed was a tall figure standing over him. It had too many arms and eyes that glowed orange in the twilight. When Hyunwoo woke up, everything hurt. His head felt fuzzy like when he had the flu last year. He tried to move but could not. There was something around him, something invisible that pushed back when he pressed against it. He was in a cage. No, not a cage. A containment field. He had seen those in science videos. The walls were made of blue energy that hummed softly. "Badge?" His voice cracked. "Badge!" A familiar snuffle answered him. Relief flooded through Hyunwoo as he saw Badge in the corner of the cell. The honey badger was curled up but breathing. Alive. Hyunwoo crawled over to his friend. Badge opened one eye, then both. The honey badger uncurled and pressed against Hyunwoo's chest. The boy wrapped his arms around the warm, solid body and felt tears on his cheeks. "We're okay." Hyunwoo whispered into Badge's fur. "We're going to be okay. Mom will find us. She always finds us." Badge made a small sound and licked Hyunwoo's chin. It was their signal. Everything will be fine. They were together. The cell was small, maybe 3 meters square. The walls were metal, cold and gray. There was nothing else in here except them. Hyunwoo looked around, trying to remember what his mom taught him about being in danger. Stay calm, look for exits. Remember details, the door was sealed tight. No handle, no button, nothing he could reach. Above them, a light glowed softly. Outside their cell, he could hear movement. Footsteps that clicked on metal. Voices speaking in languages he did not understand. Hours passed. Maybe days. Hyunwoo could not tell. He was hungry and thirsty. Badge paced the cell, sniffing every corner, testing the energy barrier with his nose. Each time he touched it, there was a small zap sound and Badge would shake his head. Finally, the door opened. A tall alien walked in. It had 4 arms and skin that looked like purple leather. Its eyes were large and orange, with no whites at all. It wore a uniform covered in pockets and tools. The alien spoke, and a device on its chest translated the words into Korean. "Fascinating. A human juvenile. And what is this creature? Some kind of miniature predator?" Badge growled. The alien's eyes widened slightly. "Let us go," Hyunwoo said, trying to sound brave. His voice shook. "My mom will be looking for us. She's really smart. She'll find you." The alien tilted its head. "Your maternal unit is irrelevant. You are now property of the Vorlix collection. You will be sold to interested parties who wish to study humans. The predator companion will fetch a good price as well. Unusual bonding behavior. Very marketable. Sold." The word hit Hyunwoo like a punch. They were going to sell him. Sell Badge like they were things, not people. "We're not things," Hyunwoo shouted. "I'm a person." "Badge is my friend." The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. "Humans are probationary members of the coalition. Your rights are limited. And this creature has no rights at all. Be grateful we are keeping you together. Some collectors would separate you." The alien left. The door sealed behind it. Hyunwoo sat down hard, his legs shaking. Badge climbed into his lap, heavier than he looked, solid and warm. "Mom will come," Hyunwoo said again, but this time he was not sure. What if she could not find them? What if they were too far away? The ship was moving. He could feel it in his stomach. The slight pull of acceleration. Badge looked up at him with dark eyes. The honey badger made a soft churring sound and pressed his broad head under Hyunwoo's chin. "It meant I am here. We are together. That is enough." Hyunwoo closed his eyes and held his best friend close. His mom had taught him about honey badgers once. She said they were famous on Earth for never giving up. They fought animals 10 times their size. They broke out of every zoo. They did not know how to quit. He felt Badge's steady breathing against his chest, felt the strength in that small body. Maybe Mom had not found them yet. Maybe they were far from home. But Hyunwoo was not alone, and Badge never quit. Far away on New Jeju, Dr. Jiwon Park stood in the forest where her son had been taken. She held Hyunwoo's backpack in her hands. Security forces surrounded her, scanning for traces. "We have tracks from a Vorlik stealth ship," Captain Tae Yang Lee said quietly. "They jumped to FTL an hour ago. We're trying to track them." Jiwon did not cry. Her hands shook, but her voice was steady. "Find my son, Captain. Find my son and his honey badger. And when you do, those aliens will learn something about humans they should have known before they took him." "What is that, Doctor?" Jiwon looked up at the darkening sky. "We protect our pack always, no matter what it costs." The trial took place 3 weeks later at the Coalition's main station. It was not a small hearing. Representatives from dozens of species came to watch. The story of the human boy and his honey badger had spread across the galaxy faster than any FTL ship. The courtroom was enormous, designed to hold many different body types. Some species sat in chairs, others floated in special chambers. A few existed as clouds of particles inside containment fields. All of them were watching Vorn and his crew stand before the judges. The lead judge was a Kalarian, an ancient species known for fairness. Her name was Judge Thess, and her skin was covered in patterns that shifted colors based on her mood. Right now she was deep blue, which meant she was thinking seriously. "The Vorlik's crew is charged with kidnapping a sapient being from a Coalition world," Judge Thess said. "How do you plead?" Vorn's lawyer, a Grexian with many tentacles, spoke up. "Not guilty, Your Honor. The Vorliks did not know humans were protected. Humans are probationary members. The laws are unclear. It was an honest mistake." The human lawyer, Mi Sun Han, stood up. She was small compared to most aliens in the room, but her voice was strong. "Your Honor, ignorance is not a defense. The Vorliks took a child. Every species in this galaxy protects their young. This is not about probationary status. This is about basic morality." Judge Thess's colors shifted to yellow, meaning she was interested. "The court will hear testimony. Call the first witness." Hyunwoo was called first. He walked to the witness area, looking small in the huge chamber. Badge walked beside him, wearing a vest that identified him as a support companion. The vest had been Jiwon's idea after Badge refused to be separated from Hyunwoo for even a moment. The boy spoke quietly, but clearly. He described being taken, waking up in the cell, Badge protecting him. He did not cry, but his voice shook when he talked about being told he would be sold. "They said I was property," Hyunwoo told the court. "Badge and I both. But we're not things. Badge is my friend. He kept me safe when I was scared." The courtroom was silent. Judge Thess turned green, meaning she felt sympathy. Then Mi-sun did something unprecedented. "Your Honor, I would like to call Badge to testify." The courtroom erupted in surprised voices, species talking over each other in dozens of languages. Judge Thess called for quiet. "A non-sapient cannot testify," the Vorlik's lawyer protested. "Badge is not non-sapient," Mi-sun said calmly. "He has enhanced intelligence. We have developed a translation interface. With the court's permission, we would like to demonstrate." Judge Thess considered this. Her colors shifted through several shades. Finally, she turned bright white, meaning she had made a decision. "Permission granted. This court will hear from the honey badger." Jiwon came forward with a device. It looked like a collar with a small speaker attached. She carefully placed it around Badge's neck. The honey badger tolerated it because Hyunwoo held him and spoke soothingly. "This device reads basic neural patterns and translates them into simple concepts," Jiwon explained. "Badge cannot speak complex sentences, but he can communicate yes, no, danger, safe, friend, threat, and a few others." Mi-sun approached Badge carefully. "Badge, do you understand you are safe here?" The device beeped and a synthesized voice said, "Yes, safe." "When the Vorliks took you and Hyunwoo, did you feel threatened?" "Danger, human cub danger." "What did you do?" "Protect. Protect human cub. Always protect." The courtroom was completely silent now. Every being present was focused on the small honey badger with the translation device. "Badge," Mi-sun said gently. "Why do you protect Hyunwoo?" Badge looked at Hyunwoo. The device processed for a moment, then spoke. "Pack, family, love." Judge Thess turned a color no one had seen before, a soft purple that meant deep respect. She looked at Vorn. "Do you still claim this was just collecting specimens?" Vorn said nothing. His lawyer tried to speak, but Judge Thess raised a hand for silence. "This court finds the Vorlix crew guilty," she declared. "You took not just a human child, but separated a family. The bond between this boy and this creature is clear. It is real. It is worth protecting." The sentence was severe. The Vorlix would spend years in detention and pay massive fines. Their collection business was shut down permanently. But more importantly, the trial triggered an investigation. Intelligence agents discovered that the Vorlix had been taking beings from probationary species for decades. Other species came forward with their own missing children and stolen creatures. The scandal rocked the Coalition. 2 days after the trial, the Coalition Council convened to vote on humanity's full membership. The debate was heated. Some elder races argued that humans were too emotional, too aggressive, too attached to non-sapient creatures. Ambassador Jae-hyun Song listened to them all patiently. Then he stood to speak. "You call us emotional," he said. "You call our bonds with animals primitive. You call our protection of children excessive. Let me tell you what we call it: civilization." He pulled up a hologram showing Badge and Hyunwoo together. This is a 9-year-old human and his companion. When threatened, this small creature fought beings 3 times his size. He did not do it for food or territory. He did it for love. And that boy, scared and far from home, trusted his friend completely. The ambassador looked around the chamber. "Most of your species domesticated your predators millions of years ago, or killed them all. You have forgotten what it means to live alongside creatures that could hurt you but choose not to. We have not forgotten. We invite wolves into our homes and they become dogs. We feed big cats and they become companions. We enhance honey badgers and they become family." He paused. "You have seen what one human child and his loyal friend can survive together. Imagine what humanity can achieve when we all stand united. Give us full membership or watch us earn it the hard way. Either way, we are not going anywhere." The vote was called. It was close, but it passed. Humanity was granted full coalition membership with all rights and protections. Back on New Jeju, Hyunwoo watched the news with his mother. Badge was sleeping on his lap, finally relaxed after weeks of constant alertness. "We did it, baby," Ji-won said, hugging her son. "You and Badge helped change the galaxy." Hyunwoo smiled. "Badge just wanted to keep me safe. He's a good boy." Ji-won scratched Badge behind his ears. The honey badger opened one eye, then closed it again, content. "The best boy," she agreed. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Never underestimate Earth creatures. Never threaten human children. And most importantly, never get between a human and their pack. The council formally added a new entry to the species database. Honey badgers, do not engage. Extreme protective instinct when bonded to humans. Possesses determination beyond rational self-preservation. Recommended classification, leave them alone. Across human space, the story spread. Children wanted honey badgers as pets. Adults wore shirts saying "Badge don't care." The honey badger became a symbol of humanity itself. Small, tough, loyal, and absolutely fearless when protecting those they loved. But for Hyunwoo, Badge was not a symbol. He was just his best friend, snoring softly on his lap while the galaxy changed around them. 6 months passed. Life on New Jeju returned to normal, or as normal as it could be when your son was famous across the galaxy. Hyunwoo went back to school, but now reporters sometimes asked to interview him. Badge went everywhere with him, wearing his support vest and ignoring the attention. The school had been understanding. Badge had his own bed in the corner of Hyunwoo's classroom. The other children loved him, though they had learned quickly not to approach too fast or too loud. Badge tolerated them because they were part of Hyunwoo's pack now, but some beings in the galaxy had not learned their lesson. The Skrillex crime syndicate saw an opportunity. If a honey badger was so dangerous, imagine what they could learn by studying one. Imagine what they could sell that information for. They planned carefully. No mistakes like the Vorlix made. They studied Badge's patterns, Hyunwoo's schedule, the colony's defenses. They waited for the perfect moment. That moment came during a school field trip to the coastal research station. 20 students, 3 teachers, and Badge, all exploring the tide pools where alien sea creatures lived. It was supposed to be educational and safe. The Skrillex struck fast. A device created a localized electrical field that disabled the teacher's communicators and stunned most of the children. But they had learned from the Vorlik's failure. They used a stronger stun setting on Badge. Hyunwoo watched in horror as Badge collapsed, his small body going limp. The Skrillex grabbed Badge with mechanical arms and retreated to their ship before anyone could react. By the time the field dissipated and the teachers could call for help, the Skrillex ship was already leaving the atmosphere. But they had made one critical mistake. They left Hyunwoo behind. The boy did not cry. He did not panic. His mother had taught him many things after the first kidnapping. One of those things was, always have a backup plan. Hyunwoo activated the emergency beacon in his shoe. Then he did something his teachers would definitely not approve of. He ran toward the spaceport. Badge had taught him many things too. How to track by smell and signs. How to move quietly. How to never give up. The honey badger would come for him. Hyunwoo would go for Badge. At the spaceport, cargo ships were loading supplies for various destinations. Hyunwoo had studied the Skrillex when he learned about them after the trial. They had a base in the outer rim, and cargo ships went there regularly. He found one preparing to depart and slipped aboard, hiding among crates of food supplies. His mother would be so angry when she found out. But Badge needed him. Jiwon was not angry. She was terrified. When the call came that Hyunwoo was missing and Badge was taken, she felt her heart stop. Then Captain Lee contacted her with worse news. Tracking showed Hyunwoo had stowed away on a cargo ship heading toward Skrillex space. That clever, stupid, brave boy, Jiwon said, already suiting up. He's going after Badge. We'll intercept the cargo ship, Lee assured her. And we're sending a fleet to the Skrillex base. Dooyun and his team are ready. Dooyun grinned despite the situation. Round 2 with the kid and his honey badger. I almost feel sorry for the Skrillex. Almost. At the Skrillex base, Badge woke up in a containment chamber much stronger than the Vorlik's had used. The walls were thick plasteel. The energy barriers had triple redundancy. The monitoring systems were state-of-the-art. The Skrillex scientists watched him from behind protective barriers. They took notes on everything, his breathing rate, his movements, his responses to stimuli. Fascinating, one said. The Mustelidi shows no fear response. Heart rate is elevated but steady. It appears to be assessing its environment. Badge was assessing. More than that, he was angry. The Skrillex had separated him from his human. That was not acceptable. He tested the barriers carefully, learning their patterns. Honey badgers were patient when they needed to be. Hyunwoo's cargo ship arrived at the Skrillex base 3 hours later. He slipped out during unloading, hiding behind crates and staying in the shadows. His mother had made him watch old Earth movies about spies and sneaking. He used every trick he remembered. The base was huge, but Hyunwoo had a secret weapon. Badge had trained him. The boy followed his instincts, moving toward the most heavily guarded area. That was where they would keep something valuable. He found the research level and the containment chambers. Through a window he saw Badge. His friend was awake, pacing the cell with that focused intensity Hyunwoo knew meant trouble was coming. Hyunwoo tapped gently on the window. Badge's head snapped toward the sound. Their eyes met. The honey badger's whole body language changed. Not his human coming to him, that was impossible. But Badge saw it anyway. The boy looked around frantically for a way to open the cell. There had to be something. Then he saw it, a ventilation shaft. Badge could fit through that if it led to his cell. Hyunwoo pried open the vent cover using a tool from his pocket. His mom had made him carry basic supplies after the first incident. He climbed inside and crawled through the narrow space until he found the vent opening into Badge's cell. Badge was waiting. The honey badger made a soft churring sound of recognition. Hyunwoo dropped into the cell and Badge immediately pressed against him, checking him for injuries with his nose. I'm okay, Hyunwoo whispered. Let's get out of here. But the Skrillex had detected the intrusion. Alarms blared. Scientists fled their stations. Security teams rushed toward the containment area. Badge positioned himself between Hyunwoo and the door. The cell barriers were still active, but Badge knew something the Skrillex did not. The barriers were designed to keep him in, not to keep him in while protecting his human. He threw himself at the barrier, using his body to short-circuit the system. It hurt. But Badge did not care. He never cared when Hyunwoo needed him. The barrier flickered and died. Badge and Hyunwoo ran together through the facility. Badge led, remembering the route from when they brought him here. Hyunwoo followed, trusting completely. They fought their way through security teams. Badge was fierce and fast. Hyunwoo used his small size to dodge and hide. Together they were unstoppable. They burst out of the facility into the docking area just as human ships arrived. Captain Lee's fleet dropped out of FTL with weapons hot and shields raised. Do-Yun and his team were running toward the facility when they stopped in surprise. Hyunwoo and Badge were walking out calmly, covered in dust but otherwise fine. "You came," Hyunwoo said, smiling. "Did you think we would not?" Do-Yun asked, laughing with relief. Jiwon ran to her son and pulled him into a crushing hug. She was crying and laughing at the same time. "You stowed away on a cargo ship. You snuck into a criminal base. You could have been killed." "Badge needed me," Hyunwoo said simply. "He always comes for me. I had to come for him." Jiwon looked at Badge, who sat calmly beside Hyunwoo despite his injuries. "You taught him well," she said to the honey badger. "Maybe too well." Captain Lee broadcast across all coalition channels. "Let this be the final lesson. Earth creatures are not collectibles. Human children are not experiments. Our bonds are not weaknesses. They are our greatest strength. Anyone who forgets this will answer to all of humanity." The Skrillex base was dismantled. The crime syndicate was destroyed. New laws were passed protecting all bonded companions across coalition space. They were nicknamed Badge's Laws. 5 years later, Hyunwoo was 14 and applying to the Coalition Xenobiology Academy. Badge, graying around the muzzle but still fierce, came with him to the interview. The admissions board looked at his application nervously. One asked, "Mr. Kim, you have had quite an unusual childhood. What do you want to study?" Hyunwoo smiled, scratching Badge behind the ears. "I want to study interspecies bonding and predator psychology. The galaxy needs to understand why you should never get between a human and their pack. Badge and I can teach them." Badge yawned, showing impressive teeth, and settled at Hyunwoo's feet. Ready for whatever came next together, the board approved his application unanimously. They had learned their lesson too, because in the galaxy there were many fearsome predators, advanced weapons, and powerful civilizations. But nothing was more dangerous than a human who loved you, or more terrifying than the human whose loved one you threatened. The galaxy had learned its rule the hard way. Never get between a human and their pack, and most especially, never get between a human kid and their honey badger.